Dr. Maya Chen pressed her face against the small window of the transport shuttle as it approached the massive Zephyrian flagship. The vessel stretched for miles across the starfield, its crystalline hull reflecting the light of 3 distant suns. She had never seen anything so beautiful or terrifying in her life. "Remember, human," growled Commander Vex from across the cabin. His blue-scaled face showed clear displeasure. "You speak only when spoken to, you touch nothing without permission, and you absolutely never approach the Empress without proper clearance." Maya nodded, clutching her small medical bag. She was the only human doctor within 50 light years, called in for this diplomatic mission only because the Zephyrian medical team had specifically requested a human consultant. She still did not understand why. The shuttle docked with a soft thud. As the doors opened, Maya followed Commander Vex into a corridor that seemed carved from living crystal. Strange lights pulsed along the walls in patterns that made her eyes water. Dozens of Zephyrian guards lined their path, each one standing perfectly still with their 4 arms crossed over their chests. "The Empress is meeting with the Corvani delegation," Vex explained as they walked. "A peace treaty after centuries of war. Your people's reputation for neutral mediation is why you are here." Maya tried to keep up with his long strides. The Zephyrians were tall, nearly 8 feet on average, with elongated limbs and faces that reminded her of ancient earth lizards. But their eyes held an intelligence that was unmistakably sentient and ancient. They entered a vast chamber where the negotiations were taking place. At the center sat Empress Zira on a throne that seemed to be made from a single massive crystal. She was smaller than the other Zephyrians, perhaps 7 feet tall, but she radiated an authority that made the air itself feel heavy. Her scales shimmered between blue and silver, and her 4 eyes tracked every movement in the room. The Corvani delegation sat across from her. They looked like walking trees with bark-like skin and limbs that moved like branches in a slow wind. Maya had read about them but never seen one in person. "The mining rights to the Helios system are not negotiable," Empress Zira was saying, her voice carrying clearly across the chamber despite speaking in low tones. The lead Corvani delegate, whose name Maya remembered as root singer Thane, swayed slightly. "Your Majesty speaks of mining where our seed worlds have grown for 1,000 cycles. This cannot be allowed." Maya found a small alcove where she could observe without interfering. The negotiations continued for hours, with both sides making careful points and counterpoints. She began to understand why they needed human mediation. Both species were too proud to make the first move toward compromise. Then everything went wrong at once. A section of the wall exploded inward. Through the hole came creatures Maya had never seen before, wearing armor that crackled with energy. They moved like liquid metal, flowing into the chamber with weapons raised. "Void hunters," someone screamed. The chamber erupted into chaos. Guards rushed forward, energy weapons firing in all directions. The Corvani delegates tried to retreat toward their own guards. And in the center of it all, Empress Zira rose from her throne, a weapon appearing in 2 of her 4 hands. Maya pressed herself against the wall as energy bolts flew past her head. She saw Commander Vex fall, a smoking hole in his chest. 2 Corvani guards were down, their bark-like skins smoldering. The Void Hunters advanced with mechanical precision, their weapons tracking targets with deadly accuracy. Empress Zira fought like a force of nature. Her weapon fired beams of pure light that cut through the Void Hunter armor like paper, but there were too many of them, and they seemed to focus their attack on her specifically. Maya saw it happen in slow motion. One of the Void Hunters raised a weapon she did not recognize, something that hummed with a different kind of energy. It fired a beam that writhed like a living thing, striking the Empress in the shoulder and sending her crashing to the floor. The Empress screamed, a sound that made Maya's bones ache. Where the beam had struck, her silver-blue scales were turning black and the darkness was spreading. "The weapon carries ancient poison," one of the Zephyrian medics shouted over the battle noise. "She needs immediate treatment!" But the battle was still raging. The medical team could not reach their Empress through the crossfire. Maya watched in horror as the black corruption spread further up Zira's arm toward her chest. If it reached her heart, she would die. Maya made a decision that would change everything. She ran, energy bolts sizzled past her as she sprinted across the chamber. She dove and rolled, using overturned furniture as cover. A Void Hunter turned its weapon toward her, but one of the Zephyrian guards tackled it from behind. Maya reached the Empress just as Zira's eyes began to flutter closed. The black corruption had reached her shoulder and was crawling toward her neck like living shadow. "Stay back," shouted the chief medical officer, an elderly Zephyrian named Healer Cass. "The ancient poisons are beyond our medicine. We must get her to the medical bay immediately." "There's no time," Maya said, dropping to her knees beside the Empress. She could see Zira's vital signs failing through the biomonitors attached to her throat. "The poison will reach her heart in minutes. You do not understand, human. This is weapon poison from the old wars. Our ancestors fought these creatures for centuries before learning to contain the toxins. No modern medicine can treat it." Maya opened her medical bag and pulled out her basic scanner. It was primitive compared to Zephyrian technology, but it showed her something the alien equipment could not see. "Your scanners are looking for the poison signature," she said quickly, "but they're not seeing what's carrying it." She ran her hands over the wound, ignoring Healer Cass's sharp intake of breath. The Empress's skin was cold and getting colder, but Maya's scanner showed traces of something familiar mixed with the alien toxin. "Iron oxide," she whispered. "Earth-based rust particles. The ancient weapon must have been built with materials from my homeworld." Around them, the battle was winding down. The Void Hunters were retreating through the hole they had made, their mission apparently complete. But Maya barely noticed. She was focused on the Empress, whose breathing was becoming shallow. "My bag," Maya said urgently. "The blue vial." Healer Cass hesitated, then handed her the requested item. Maya uncapped it, and the smell of eucalyptus filled the air. "What is that primitive compound?" "Eucalyptus oil mixed with activated charcoal," Maya said, already applying it to the wound. "Human folk medicine. The charcoal will absorb the iron particles and the oil will neutralize the organic toxins." "That is impossible. Such simple compounds cannot affect ancient weapon poisons." But as Maya worked, applying pressure and massaging the oil into the surrounding tissue, something remarkable happened. The black corruption stopped spreading. More than that, it began to recede. Empress Zira's eyes snapped open. For a moment, they focused on Maya with an expression of pure shock. Maya was touching her, applying pressure with both hands directly on the wound and the surrounding scales. "Only my consort can touch there," the Empress whispered, her voice barely audible. The words carried across the now quiet chamber like a thunderclap. Every Zephyrian in the room froze. Healer Cass stumbled backward. Even the remaining Corvani delegates turned to stare. Maya did not understand the significance, but she could feel the Empress's pulse growing stronger under her hands. "I'm sorry if I've offended you," she said, continuing to work. "But the treatment requires direct contact. The absorption only works through skin to skin. Contact," and she claimed the sacred touch, someone whispered. "A human cannot make such a claim." Another voice said. "Yet she does," came a third voice. "And the Empress lives." Maya kept working, adding a second application of the eucalyptus mixture. The black corruption continued to fade, revealing healthy silver-blue scales beneath. Empress Zira's breathing stabilized and color returned to her face. "Impossible," breathed Healer Cass. "The ancient poisons have never responded to any treatment. How did you know to use such basic compounds?" Maya sat back on her heels, finally allowing herself to believe that the Empress would survive. "The poison wasn't purely alien," she explained. "Your scanner showed the toxin signature, but my equipment detected the carrier particles. Iron oxide from Earth? The weapon must have been built using materials stolen from human space centuries ago." She gestured to her simple medical bag. "Human bodies evolved to process iron compounds. Our folk medicine developed treatments for iron poisoning long before we had advanced medical technology. The eucalyptus oil breaks down the molecular bonds, and activated charcoal absorbs the particles through skin contact." Empress Zira struggled to sit up, her 4 eyes fixed on Maya. "You risked your life to save mine. You used the sacred touch without understanding its meaning." "I used basic medical treatment," Maya said carefully. "Nothing more." "Among our people," the Empress said slowly, "there are places on the body that only a life-bonded consort may touch during healing rituals. You touched such a place. By our ancient laws, you have made a claim of bonding." Maya felt her face grow hot. "Your Majesty, I meant no disrespect." "I was only trying to save your life. If I have violated your customs, I apologize deeply." The Empress studied her for a long moment. Around them, the chamber remained silent except for the sound of medical equipment being moved into position. "Tell me, Dr. Maya Chen," the Empress said finally, "how did your people develop such knowledge?" Your medical techniques seem primitive, yet they succeeded where our advanced medicine failed. Maya thought carefully about her answer. We learned to work with what we had. Humans spent thousands of years learning to heal without advanced technology. We had to understand the body, understand natural compounds, understand how things work together. Sometimes the simple answer is the right answer. And you applied this knowledge to save a stranger, despite the personal risk. Anyone would have done the same. Empress Zira made a sound that might have been laughter. No, Dr. Chen, anyone would not. You saw a problem, analyzed it with tools and knowledge your people developed over millennia, and found a solution that our advanced civilization could not. Then you risked yourself to apply that solution. She gestured to the chamber around them. Look what happened here today. Ancient enemies met to discuss peace only to be attacked by older enemies still. Yet the solution came not from any of our great powers but from a single human, with a bag of simple medicines. Maya helped the Empress stand, noting that her strength was rapidly returning. The treatment will need to be repeated in a few hours, she said, and we should monitor for any delayed reactions. Of course, said Healer Cass, who had been taking detailed scans of the Empress throughout their conversation. But Dr. Chen, how did you know to apply pressure to those specific points? Our anatomy texts show those as non-critical areas. Maya blushed again. Actually, I was treating them as pressure points for pain relief. Humans use them for headaches and muscle tension. I thought they might help with the poison-induced pain. The Empress stared at her. You used your own species' healing techniques on alien anatomy, and they worked better than our specialized medicine. I got lucky, I guess. No, said the Empress firmly. You understood something we did not. You saw connections we missed. You acted when others could not. She paused, then smiled, an expression that transformed her alien features into something almost familiar. Perhaps there is wisdom in the old saying that simple tools in skilled hands surpass complex tools in unskilled ones. As the medical teams moved in to complete the Empress's treatment and secure the chamber, Maya found herself thinking about what had just happened. She had saved an alien Empress using eucalyptus oil and activated charcoal. She had unknowingly claimed some kind of sacred bond by touching forbidden areas during healing. And somehow, despite all the confusion and cultural misunderstanding, she felt that something important had just begun. 3 days had passed since the attack, and Maya still could not fully understand what her simple medical treatment had set in motion. She sat in her assigned quarters aboard the Zephyrian flagship, reviewing her notes about the Empress's recovery, when a soft chime announced a visitor. Dr. Chen, came the familiar voice of Healer Cass through the door speaker. Empress Zira requests your presence in the private healing chambers. Maya gathered her medical bag and followed the elderly Zephyrian through corridors that seemed even more magnificent in the softer lighting of the ship's evening cycle. Crystalline walls pulsed with gentle blues and purples, creating patterns that somehow felt peaceful rather than alien. They passed through several security checkpoints before reaching the healing chambers. Maya had been here twice daily to check on the Empress's recovery, but she still felt amazed by the advanced medical equipment that lined the walls. Machines that could rebuild tissue at the molecular level, scanners that could detect problems before symptoms appeared, and treatment pods that could extend life far beyond what any human technology could achieve. Yet none of it had been able to help with the ancient weapon-poisoned Empress. Sierra stood near a large window that showed the stars spinning slowly past. She had recovered completely from her wound, with only a small silver scar remaining where the corruption had spread. She turned as Maya entered, and her 4 eyes showed an expression that Maya was learning to read as thoughtful consideration. Dr. Chen, the Empress said, gesturing toward comfortable chairs arranged near the window. Please sit with me. We have much to discuss. Maya took the offered seat, noting that the Empress had dismissed even her personal guards. They were alone in the chamber, something that Maya was beginning to understand was highly unusual. Your Majesty, Maya began carefully. How are you feeling? Any pain or discomfort from the wound site? I am completely healed thanks to your intervention. The Empress settled into her own chair, which adjusted automatically to accommodate her taller frame. But that is not why I asked you here. Maya waited, having learned that Zephyrians preferred to approach important topics gradually. Tell me about your people's approach to medicine, the Empress said. Not the technical details, but the philosophy behind it. Maya thought for a moment. We learned to heal by understanding the whole person, not just the illness. Human medicine developed from necessity. We had to work with simple tools and natural compounds, so we learned to see patterns and connections that advanced technology might miss. And this approach led you to see what our advanced scanners could not. Your technology was looking for the poison signature itself, Maya explained. But I was looking at what the poison was doing to your body. My scanner showed iron particles, which told me the weapon had earth-based components. Once I knew that, I could treat it with techniques my people developed for iron poisoning. Empress Zira made a soft humming sound that Maya had learned indicated deep thought. Our medical science focuses on precision. We identify the exact problem and apply the exact solution. Your approach seems to focus on adaptation. Humans had to adapt, Maya said. We didn't have advanced technology for most of our history. We learned to use what was available and find creative solutions. She paused, then added, sometimes the simplest solution is the most effective one. Indeed. The Empress stood and moved to a wall display that showed medical readouts. Since your treatment, our medical teams have been studying your methods. They have found applications we never considered. Maya joined her at the display, which showed complex charts and graphs that were mostly beyond her understanding. But she could see trend lines that clearly showed improvement in various metrics. Your pressure point techniques have proven remarkably effective for pain management across multiple species, the Empress continued. The combination therapy approach you used has applications for treating compound poisoning that we had never explored. I'm glad it's been helpful, Maya said, though she felt somewhat overwhelmed by the implications. More than helpful. Dr. Chen, revolutionary. The Empress turned to face her directly. Which brings us to the matter we must discuss. Maya felt a familiar nervousness. She had been dreading this conversation since the healing 3 days ago. The sacred touch, she said quietly. Yes. The Empress moved to another chair, gesturing for Maya to join her. Among my people, there are ancient laws governing physical contact during healing rituals. Certain areas of the body may only be touched by a bonded life partner during medical treatment. Maya felt her face grow warm. I didn't know. I was only trying to save your life. I understand. And that is precisely what makes this situation so remarkable. The Empress leaned forward slightly. By our oldest laws, when someone makes the sacred touch to save a life, they are declaring themselves willing to bond their fate to that person. But I'm human, Maya said. Surely the laws don't apply to other species? The laws were written in the ancient tongue, the Empress replied. They speak of those who would heal with the touch of bonding. They do not specify species. Maya stared at her. What does that mean exactly? It means that technically by our laws you have made a formal claim to become my consort. The words hung in the air between them. Maya felt as if the room had suddenly become much smaller. Your Majesty, I never intended any such thing. If there's a way to withdraw the claim or apologize for the misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding, the Empress said gently. And there is no need to withdraw anything. Maya looked at her in confusion. Dr. Chen, the Empress continued, the word consort in your language carries implications that do not exist in ours. In ancient Zephyrian, the term refers to a trusted advisor who shares in the responsibilities of leadership. It speaks of partnership and duty, not romantic attachment. Maya felt a wave of relief followed immediately by new confusion. So what exactly does this mean? It means that by our laws you are now recognized as my healing consort. The first such position created in over 1,000 years. The Empress smiled, an expression that Maya was beginning to find comforting rather than alien. It means you would serve as my chief medical advisor and the bridge between human and Zephyrian healing practices. Maya sat back in her chair, trying to process this information. But I'm just one human doctor. I don't know anything about governing or diplomacy. You saved my life using knowledge and techniques that our advanced civilization could not match, the Empress replied. You saw solutions where we saw only problems. You acted with courage when others hesitated. She paused. These are exactly the qualities needed for what I have in mind. Which is? The Empress stood and moved to the large window, gazing out at the stars. The attack by the Void Hunters was not random. They specifically targeted me during peace negotiations. This suggests they want to prevent alliance between the Zephyrian Empire and other species. Maya joined her at the window. You think they'll attack again? I am certain of it. The Void Hunters have been dormant for centuries, but something has awakened them. We need new approaches to defend against their ancient weapons. The Empress turned to Maya. We need human ingenuity. I don't understand. Your treatment of my wound has proven something we never considered, the Empress explained. Human medicine, developed without advanced technology, contains knowledge that we have lost. Your people learned to heal through understanding and adaptation, rather than just precision and power. Maya began to see where this was leading. You want to combine human and Zephyrian medical knowledge. More than that, the Empress activated a holographic display that showed star maps and fleet positions. I want to establish the first joint human Zephyrian research facility, a place where your people's adaptive healing techniques can be combined with our advanced technology. The display zoomed in to show a space station design unlike anything Maya had ever seen. It was enormous, with sections that seemed to blend organic curves with crystalline structures. The Void Hunters use weapons based on ancient technology that our current medicine cannot counter, the Empress continued. But you proved that simpler approaches properly applied can succeed where advanced techniques fail. Maya studied the display. You want humans and Zephyrians working together. I want more than that. The Empress touched a control and the display expanded to show additional species. Maya recognized Corvani designs and others she did not know. I want to create the first truly multi-species medical research center, a place where different approaches to healing can be shared and combined. The other species would agree to this? Rootsinger Thane has already expressed interest on behalf of the Corvani collective. They were as impressed as we were by your treatment methods. The Empress smiled. It seems that humans have developed techniques that complement both our precision technology and their biological expertise. Maya felt excitement building as she began to understand the scope of what was being proposed. A medical center where each species contributes their best knowledge and techniques. Exactly. And as my healing consort, you would oversee the human medical teams and serve as coordinator between species. The Empress paused. If you are willing to accept such a responsibility, Maya looked out at the stars thinking about the implications. She was just one human doctor who had happened to have the right knowledge at the right time. But if that knowledge could be shared and expanded, if human techniques could help save lives across multiple species, what would this involve exactly? You would return to human space to recruit medical teams, the Empress explained. We would provide transportation and resources. The research station would be built in neutral space, accessible to all participating species. And the healing consort position? You would serve as my medical advisor and represent human interests in the alliance. You would have a voice in decisions affecting medical policy across all participating worlds. The Empress turned to face her directly. It is a position of great honor and greater responsibility. Maya thought about her small clinic back on Earth, where she treated miners and farmers with basic equipment and traditional remedies. She thought about the vast Zephyrian medical technology that could rebuild tissue at the molecular level. She thought about combining these approaches to create something neither species could achieve alone. The other human doctors, she said, would they be willing to work with alien medical teams? That would depend on how you present the opportunity, the Empress replied. But consider this. Human medicine has always advanced through sharing knowledge and techniques. This would simply expand that tradition beyond your own species. Maya nodded slowly. And the Void Hunters? If they attack the research station, we will be prepared. The Empress activated another display showing defensive systems. The station will be protected by the combined fleets of all participating species. More importantly, we will be developing countermeasures to their ancient weapons, using human adaptive techniques combined with alien technology. Precisely. Maya was quiet for several minutes, looking at the star maps and thinking about the possibilities. Finally, she turned to the Empress. When would we start? The Empress's 4 eyes brightened. You accept the position? I accept the challenge, Maya said, though I still think you might be overestimating what human medicine can contribute. Dr. Chen, the Empress said, moving to stand beside her. 3 days ago you saved my life using eucalyptus oil and activated charcoal. Today our medical teams are developing new treatments based on your techniques. Tomorrow those treatments might save thousands of lives across dozens of worlds. She gestured toward the star maps. Never underestimate the power of simple solutions applied with wisdom and courage. Maya looked out at the stars, feeling both humbled and excited by what lay ahead. She was about to become the bridge between human and alien medicine, helping to create something that could protect countless lives from ancient threats. "When do we begin?" she asked. The Empress smiled. "We already have.